All right, let's take a look at the informal negative or the short negative versions of verbs. Recall that there are three verb types in Japanese: u verbs, godan doshi, ru verbs, ichidan doshi, and irregular verbs in Japanese. Each verb type conjugates differently when using the short negative form, so we'll need to sort of break these out separately as we take a look at how they behave and how they conjugate. For u verbs, those recall we shift the vowel sounds to indicate different meanings. For the short negative form, we'll utilize the syllables in the a vowel line. So what do I mean here? Well, recall that all of the dictionary forms of a verb, whenever you look up a verb in the dictionary, the verb endings are invariably in this line here with the u sounds, right? U, ku, su, tsu, nu, hu, mu, and so on, right? These are all the possible endings for verbs, excluding you, of course, that you can find for verbs. When we want to change those a dictionary form of a verb into the polite form of a verb, and we're talking about u verbs here, we'll shift up one line to the e vowel line, and so that, for example, let's just take kiku, the verb for to listen, ends in ku if we want to make the polite version of that verb. Kiku, shift up to kiki, and then we add our verb ending, which is mas. So the polite form, this will have the e syllable line when we are dealing with u verbs. When we are dealing with, or when we want to make the short negative forms of verb, we're going to go up one more line to the a vowel line. So we're going to shift up two lines from our dictionary form. Again, if we use kiku, we can go kiku, kiki, kika, and then we add our short negative ending. What is the short negative ending that we're going to add to make the short negative forms of the verbs? The short negative ending for all verbs end with nai. Nai is the way all short negative verbs will end. What comes before them, how the verbs change, differs from verb type to verb type, but every single short negative form of a verb in Japanese will end with nai. This is equivalent in meaning to masen, the polite negative version of a verb. The only difference here between the two would be the level of politeness. All right, let's take a look at a couple of verbs here for some practice. Give you a visual aid. Kiku, to listen, also to ask, you may recall. Kiku, so we're going to shift up again. So kiku is the dictionary form of the verb. Kiku, kiki, kika, and then we're going to add our ending, short negative ending is nai. So kiku, kiki, kika, nai. Kikanai, same as kikimasen, to not listen. Hanasu, same thing here. We'll shift up two vowel lines, hanasu, hanashi, hanasa, and add the short negative ending, nai. Hanasanai, hanasanai, to not talk, to not speak. Matsu, to wait. Matsu, machi, mata, nai, matanai, to not wait. Yomu, yomu, yomi, yoma, nai, yomanai, to not read. There are a couple of exceptions that are classified as u verbs. They don't behave, at least just in this short negative form, so they're not, classically speaking, technically speaking, irregular verbs. Which two verbs are these, and how do we treat these when we see them? Well, the verb aru, you'll recall, arimasu in its polite form, is the verb for the existence of inanimate objects. If we follow the conjugation rules that I just outlined, we would shift up from aru, ari, ara, and add nai. However, this is not the correct form for arimasen when we're speaking informally. In reality, we're going to drop ara completely and just be left with nai. So the informal version of arimasen is simply nai. Nai equals arimasen in informal speech. The other type of verb that we need to look at are u verbs that end in u, like the verb au here. Au ends in u. And again, if we follow the conjugation rules that I just outlined, we would go up 2 lines, a-u, a-i, a-a, and add nai. We'd end up with a-nai, but this is not how any native speaker says to not meet. This is not the informal version of aimasen. This is a mess. So how do we go about making this into its short negative form? If you take a look at the hiragana chart and you run across all the vowels on the very top that have the ah sound in them, the very last one in that row is wa. And so what you're in fact going to do is you're going to shift all the way up to the ah line, as we've been doing, 2 lines up. And then instead of stopping where it says ah, this syllable here, ah, you're going to go all the way down until you reach wa. So the correct way to say aimasen, to not meet, is in fact wanai. This is true of all verbs that end in u. Okay, so what about lu verbs? How do we handle lu verbs? Lu verbs, recall, are very simple as far as conjugation goes. It's always remove and replace. Take the ending you don't want, lu here in this case, and replace with the ending you do. Recall that the short negative ending for verbs is nai, so really this is just as simple as swapping out lu for nai. Miru, mimasen in its polite negative is simply minai, minai in informal Japanese speech. Okiru, to get up. Informally, we'll remove the lu, replace with nai for the negative. Instead of okimasen, we would say okinai, okinai, to not get up. And finally, taberu, taberu. Remove the ru and replace with nai. Tabenai, meaning-wise, is equivalent to tabemasen, tabenai, I will not eat or I don't eat. What about our 2 irregular friends, the holdouts suru and kuru? As always, you'll have to memorize these 2. Suru in its informal negative turns into shinai, and kuru, to come, turns into konai in its short negative form. Let's get some practice putting verbs into their short negative forms. I've pulled these right from the Genki textbook on page 198, exercise A. I'll give you the informal, affirmative version of a verb. I'll ask you to pause the video and see if you can come up with the short negative version of the verb. Here we go. Miru, miru. Pause the video here. Minai, minai. Akeru, akeru. Pause the video here. Akenai, akenai. Sumu, sumu. Pause the video here. Sumanai, sumanai. Kakeru, kakeru. Pause the video here. Kakenai, kakenai. Haku, haku. Pause the video here. 履かない、履かない。始める、始める。Pause the video here. 始めない、始めない。作る、作る。Pause the video here. 作らない、作らない。洗濯する、洗濯する。Pause the video here. 洗濯しない、洗濯しない。洗う、洗う。Pause the video here. 洗わない、洗わない。Just to pause here for a moment, remember that verbs that end in u and are u verbs, we have to shift all the way up and over to the wa sound. So not ara a nai, but rather ara wa nai. Ara wa nai. 来る、来る。Pause the video here. 来ない、来ない。忘れる、忘れる。Pause the video here. 忘れない、忘れない。ある、ある。Pause the video here. ない、ない。Recall that this is one of our other irregular verbs, irregular u verbs, when we're dealing with the short negative forms of verb. It is not aranai, but rather nai, simply. When something isn't there, when you're looking for your car keys or your sunglasses or whatever it is and you can't find it, you would probably run around in Japanese saying nai, nai, nai. It's just not there. 思う、思う。Pause the video here. 思わない、思わない。Here again, ends in u. We have to be careful to use the wa syllable here. 思わない。持っていく、持っていく. To bring somewhere. Recall this is actually two verbs separate, right? 持って is the te form of 持つ, to hold or to have, and then 行く, of course, to go. So in Japanese, to bring something, we say hold and go. So the part we're going to conjugate is the end here, 行く. Okay, so 持っていく, to bring something. Pause the video here. 持っていかない、持っていかない。入る、入る。Pause the video here. 入らない、入らない。 kaeru, kaeru. Recall that this version of kaeru looks like it might be a ru verb. It is not. Kaeru, to return, to go back, is actually an u verb. So keep that in mind as you try to come up with the version of kaeru that would be the short negative version. Pause the video here, please. Kaeranai, kaeranai. So that's our look at the short negative or the informal negative versions of verbs in Japanese. 皆さん勉強頑張ってね。